I awoke to the sound of waves crashing against the shore, disoriented and dazed. The sun was bright, and the sand beneath me was warm. As I pushed myself up, I realized with a shock that I was on an unknown beach, surrounded by dense tropical jungle. The events of the past few hours were a blur, a storm, the violent pull of the ocean, and then darkness. Now, I was alone, stranded with nothing but my clothes and the hope of survival. There were people here, men, all of them. Some were gathered around a fire, while others tended to huts made from bamboo and palm leaves. I paused, feeling a mix of relief and nervousness. I called out, and heads turned in my direction. Soon, several of them approached, their expressions a mix of curiosity and surprise. One man stepped forward from the group, clearly the leader. He had a steady gaze, calm demeanor, and a strong, quiet authority. "Welcome," he said with a nod, his voice both soothing and confident. He introduced himself as Kalen and offered me water and food. His presence was grounding, and in that moment, I knew I could trust him. One evening, as the sun set over the ocean, Kalen and I found ourselves alone on a cliff overlooking the water. There was a quiet, unspoken understanding between us as we watched the sky turn shades of pink and gold. He reached out, taking my hand, and the warmth of his touch sent a spark through me. In that moment, words weren't necessary. From that evening on, Kalen and I grew even closer. We spent our days exploring the island together, learning its secrets and marveling at its beauty. With him, I felt a deep sense of belonging, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Every glance, every shared smile, seemed to strengthen the bond between us. My connection with the other men also grew. They each had their own stories, their own quirks, and soon, I saw them as a family of sorts. They were kind and respectful, always making sure I felt comfortable and safe. Each day was a new adventure, filled with laughter, challenges, and companionship. As time went on, Kalen and I shared more of ourselves with each other, our conversations going deeper, revealing hopes, fears, and dreams. One night, as we sat by the fire, he pulled me close, and our connection became undeniable. We shared a kiss that felt like both a promise and a beginning. Our kiss that night by the fire was gentle yet electric, a moment that left me both breathless and grounded. I could feel the quiet strength in Kalen's touch, and in that shared silence, something shifted between us. It wasn't just attraction, it was an understanding, a feeling that we were meant to be here together, bound by fate and circumstance. After that night, Kalen and I became nearly inseparable. We shared a rhythm that felt natural, and every task became something we enjoyed together, whether it was collecting food, building new shelters, or simply walking along the beach. We didn't need to say much, his presence alone brought me a comfort I hadn't realized I was missing. In the evenings, the men would gather around the fire, sharing stories of their lives before the island. I became a part of these gatherings, listening to their tales of adventure, loss, and resilience. Each of them had their own unique qualities and personalities, and slowly, I began to feel as though I had a family here. Kalen often encouraged me to spend time with the others, building friendships and connections within the community. He knew that, despite our relationship, I needed a sense of belonging beyond just him. The men were warm and welcoming, and each brought a sense of humor, wisdom, or kindness that made me appreciate them all. One of the men, Ewan, taught me how to catch fish using nets they had crafted from vines. He was patient and enthusiastic, his laughter infectious as he showed me the best spots to find fish near the reef. Then there was Rowan, who shared his skills in woodworking, showing me how he carved intricate designs into the furniture they made. The days slipped into a comfortable rhythm. I felt more at home with each passing day, and Kalen and I spent countless nights under the stars, lost in our own world. His quiet strength, his sense of humor, his kindness, it all made me fall deeper for him. With each conversation and every shared silence, I felt like I was discovering more of myself, too. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Kalen and I sat on the beach watching the waves. He took my hand, tracing circles on my palm with his thumb, and I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. "I never imagined I'd feel this way here," I whispered, leaning into him. He smiled, pulling me close, his voice warm. "Neither did I," he said softly. My connection with Kalen became a sanctuary on this island. Our love was a steady, unwavering presence amid the isolation, a reminder that even in the most unexpected places, life could offer beautiful moments of connection. We both knew the fragility of our situation, that each day here was a gift we couldn't take for granted. Over time, the island became more than just a place of survival, it became a home. I began to feel a sense of kinship with the other men, an unbreakable bond that grew with each shared task and conversation. Together, we worked as a community, each person contributing something unique and valuable. Kalen often spoke of his hope to one day return to the mainland, to bring us all back to our former lives. But as time went on, I wondered if that was what I truly wanted. Here, on this island, I had found something rare and beautiful, a world untouched, a life free from the noise and chaos of civilization. With Kalen by my side, I felt complete. One day, Kalen suggested exploring a new part of the island he hadn't yet ventured into. Together with a few of the men, we set off early in the morning, excitement buzzing through our small group. The jungle was dense, filled with the sound of birds and the scent of wildflowers. I felt alive, surrounded by nature and the people I had come to care for. As we moved deeper into the jungle, we encountered a series of caves hidden behind thick vines. Kalen took my hand, guiding me through the rocky terrain, our laughter echoing through the cave walls. Inside, we found ancient carvings, symbols etched into the stone that hinted at stories long forgotten. It was a mystery, a discovery that felt like it belonged to us alone. We spent hours in the caves, captivated by the symbols and the cool, echoing silence. Kalen traced his fingers over the markings, his gaze thoughtful. "It's as if this place has always been waiting for us," he murmured, and I nodded, feeling the weight of his words. The island had become more than just a place of refuge, it was our sanctuary. When we returned to the village, the others gathered around as we shared our discoveries. The caves became a shared mystery, a place we returned to over the following weeks, each time uncovering a new symbol or hidden chamber. The experience deepened our sense of community, bonding us in our shared wonder and curiosity. Through it all, Kalen remained my constant, the anchor that grounded me. Our relationship was a refuge, a quiet space where I could be vulnerable and true. With him, I felt understood and valued, our love a quiet, steady flame that warmed my heart even on the loneliest of days. One night, after a day spent exploring the far side of the island, we found ourselves alone on a secluded beach. The moon cast a silvery glow over the water, and the gentle sound of the waves filled the air. Kalen pulled me close, his arms wrapped around me, and I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. We shared a kiss that night, one filled with the weight of our experiences and the quiet strength of our bond. It was a moment of surrender, a reminder that even in this wild, unpredictable place, love could thrive. Our connection deepened, bound by trust, respect, and the shared understanding that we were stronger together. In the days that followed, my bonds with the other men grew stronger as well. Each of them had become a friend, a part of the family we had created here. We worked side by side, laughed, and shared stories, building a life that was beautiful in its simplicity and strength. As the months passed, I realized that the island had given me something I hadn't known I needed, a sense of purpose, of belonging. With Kalen, I had found a love that was steady and unwavering, a connection that filled my heart with gratitude. And with the community, I had found a family that made me feel whole. Life on the island was simple, but it was filled with moments of joy and connection. With Kalen by my side and the community around me, I had found a life that was both unexpected and beautiful, a journey of love, friendship, and discovery that would remain with me forever. As the days turned into weeks, I felt an ever-deepening connection not just to Kaylin, but to the entire community. Each person had come into my life in such a unique way, and I grew to cherish each friendship. Kaylin encouraged me to spend more time with everyone, and soon I found myself building individual bonds that felt as meaningful as the one I shared with him. Rowan, who had shown me his woodworking skills, became a close confidant. He was quiet yet observant, often noticing things others missed. We would spend hours together carving intricate patterns into wood, his steady hands guiding mine as I learned to create art from raw materials. I began to see the beauty of working with my hands, and in those moments, I found a sense of peace. Ewan, on the other hand, was the island's entertainer. His laughter was infectious, and he always found a way to lift everyone's spirits. One night, he organized a makeshift party by the beach, where we danced under the stars, surrounded by the warmth of the fire and the sound of waves. Ewan's sense of freedom and joy reminded me that even in isolation, life could be full of laughter. There was also Eli, a deeply intelligent and gentle soul. He had spent years studying herbal medicine, and he took it upon himself to teach me about the island's plants and their healing properties. Our shared walks through the jungle became moments of discovery, each plant a small miracle with its own uses. I felt grateful for his patience and wisdom as he guided me through this new world of healing. As I grew closer to each man, I began to understand what Kaylin had meant about building connections within the community. With every shared experience, every conversation, I felt my own heart expand, filled with a love that went beyond romance. I felt a kinship, a sense of belonging, that was deeper than anything I had known before. One afternoon, as I sat by the river with Rowan, he shared stories of his childhood, of a life filled with adventure and dreams of the open sea. His eyes lit up as he spoke, and I felt privileged to witness such vulnerability. His words reminded me of the life I had left behind, but also of the beautiful reality we had built together here. The men would often share tales of their pasts, and as I listened, I felt a deep sense of empathy. They each had their own sorrows and dreams, their own regrets and hopes. Being here had stripped away their former lives, but it had also given them the space to rebuild, to redefine themselves. I saw myself reflected in them, in their courage to start anew. Life on the island had changed me in ways I hadn't anticipated. I no longer felt like an outsider, but rather an integral part of a family. My relationship with Kaylin had become a source of strength, but my connections with the others brought me a different kind of fulfillment, a sense of friendship and unity that was rare and precious. Kaylin noticed the change in me. One evening, as we sat by the water, he took my hand and smiled, his gaze filled with pride. "You belong here," he said softly, his words wrapping around me like a warm embrace. I knew then that this island, and everyone on it, had become a part of me. The seasons shifted, and with them, the island's landscape transformed. The men and I worked together to prepare for the rainy season, building stronger shelters and gathering supplies. It was a communal effort, a testament to the strength of our bond. We were a family, bound by love, respect, and the will to survive. With each passing day, I found joy in the simple moments of island life. Whether it was cooking meals together, telling stories by the fire, or working in the fields, I felt a contentment I hadn't known before. There was no rush, no pressure, only the quiet rhythm of our shared lives. Kaylin and I would often sit in silence, watching the sun dip below the horizon, our hands intertwined. We didn't need to speak to know what the other was feeling. Our love had grown into something steady and deep, a foundation that anchored me to this place, to these people. I came to see each man as a vital part of our small world. Eli, with his gentle wisdom, Ewan, with his boundless joy, Rowan, with his quiet strength. Each had given me something unique, something precious. Together, we were building a life filled with love and laughter, a life that felt both wild and wonderfully free. One day, as Kaylin and I walked along the beach, he spoke of a future, a vision of our lives here on the island, growing and evolving as a community. His words filled me with hope, and I realized that I wanted that future, too. I wanted to spend my days surrounded by the people I had come to love, to create a life that was rich in friendship and joy. The love I felt for Kaylin was unlike anything I had known, but it was not the only love that filled my heart. My bond with each of the men had grown into something profound and irreplaceable. We were bound together by the island, by the trials and joys we had shared, and by the understanding that we were stronger together. As the rain began to fall, I looked around at the people who had become my family. The island was our home, a place where we had each found a piece of ourselves. Together, we had created a world that was both simple and beautiful, a sanctuary where love could flourish. In that moment, I realized that I had found everything I needed. Here, with Kaylin and the others, I had found a life that was rich and fulfilling, a life filled with love, laughter, and the quiet strength of a community bound by friendship and respect. Our story was one of survival, but it was also a story of love and connection, of finding joy in the simplest of moments. Together, we had built a life that was both wild and wonderful, a life that would forever be a part of who I was. As the rainy season settled in, life on the island grew quieter, the days softened by the steady rhythm of rain pattering against the leaves. Our world felt smaller, cozier, a sanctuary where time itself seemed to slow. Kaylin and I spent long hours together, huddled under the shelter, wrapped in blankets, sharing our dreams and plans for the future. There was something almost magical about those rainy days. The sound of raindrops created a backdrop that made every moment feel more intimate, every glance and touch more meaningful. With the world outside damp and misty, we found ourselves more drawn to one another, as if the rain was a blanket, wrapping us together in its gentle embrace. In those quiet hours, Kaylin would often tell me stories of his life before the island. His voice, deep and soothing, filled me with a sense of closeness and trust. He had come from a life filled with responsibilities and expectations, a life he had left behind in search of freedom. Here on the island, he had found that freedom, and I realized I had, too. The other men would join us sometimes, gathering around the fire as we shared stories, laughter, and warmth. In that cozy setting, we became not just friends but family, each person's presence a gift. Our shared lives had woven a web of connection that held us close, and I cherished each moment we spent together. One night, Rowan asked me to tell my story. As I spoke of my life before the island, the routines, the pressures, the constant chase for something more, I saw understanding in their eyes. They, too, had felt that longing, that search for meaning beyond the ordinary. It was that shared yearning that had led each of us to this island, to this life. The more I opened up, the more I felt a weight lift from my heart. I was no longer a stranger in this place, but someone who belonged. The men listened with patience and empathy, their kindness wrapping around me like the rain-soaked trees outside. I felt grateful to have found this refuge, this space to be truly seen and understood. As the rainy season continued, we found new ways to keep ourselves entertained. We would organize games and challenges, simple joys that brought laughter and lightness to our days. Ewan was the ringleader, always quick to turn the most ordinary moment into a celebration. His laughter was contagious, filling our shelter with a joy that chased away the gray skies. Kaylin would often watch me as I laughed and played with the others, his eyes filled with warmth and pride. He understood that this island had become my home, that the people around me had become my family. In his gaze, I saw his own happiness, his contentment in knowing that I was as much a part of this place as he was. There was something beautiful about the simplicity of our days. Each meal we shared, each story we told, each moment of laughter and companionship, it all felt like pieces of a life we had built together, a life that was rich in ways I had never known before. Our lives flowed with the rhythm of the rain, and I found peace in the quiet, in the small acts of care we offered each other. Whether it was sharing a meal, helping with a task, or simply sitting together in comfortable silence, every interaction felt meaningful, a reminder of the bond that held us all together. One evening, as the rain fell in a gentle drizzle, Kaylin and I took a walk along the beach. The air was cool, and the sand was soft beneath our feet. We walked in silence, our hands intertwined, the world around us quiet and serene. In that moment, I felt a sense of contentment that went beyond words. Kaylin stopped and turned to me, his gaze tender and filled with love. "You've brought something beautiful into our lives," he said, his voice soft and steady. "You've given us a reason to hope, to dream." His words touched me deeply, filling my heart with a warmth that lingered long after we returned to the shelter. The rainy season eventually came to an end, and the island blossomed anew, vibrant and lush with life. The days grew warmer, and we resumed our work, each task a reminder of the life we were building together. The men and I fell back into our routines, but our bonds felt even stronger, our connections deeper. One sunny afternoon, as I worked alongside Rowan in the garden, he shared a story about his childhood dreams of adventure. His words reminded me of my own journey, of the courage it had taken to leave my old life behind. Together, we reflected on how the island had changed us, how it had given us a new beginning. Each man had become a part of my heart, a part of the person I was becoming. They had shown me kindness and compassion, laughter and strength. In their presence, I had found a sense of belonging, a feeling of home that I had never known before. Kaylin and I continued to share quiet moments, our love growing with each passing day. He was my anchor, my guide, but he had also encouraged me to explore my connections with others, to build a life that was rich in friendship and trust. His support had been a gift, one that had allowed me to find my own place on the island. As the days turned to weeks, I found myself growing closer to Eli. His gentle wisdom and kindness were a comfort, and we would often spend evenings talking by the fire, sharing our hopes and fears. He had a way of listening that made me feel truly heard, and our friendship became a source of strength. Ewan, with his boundless energy and joy, continued to bring laughter to our days. He had a gift for finding humor in every situation, for turning the most mundane task into a game. His presence was a reminder that life was meant to be enjoyed, that even in the simplest moments, there was joy to be found. Rowan's quiet strength and loyalty became a steady presence in my life. He was always there, ready to lend a hand or offer a word of encouragement. Our bond was one of mutual respect and trust, a friendship that brought me comfort and peace. Each of the men had given me something unique, something precious. Together, they had helped me build a life that was rich and full, a life that felt meaningful and true. I cherished each friendship, each bond, knowing that they were as much a part of me as the island itself. One night, as we gathered around the fire, Kaylin spoke of our future. He talked about the life we were building, the community we were creating, and his words filled us all with a sense of purpose. We were not just surviving, we were thriving, creating a world that was both simple and beautiful. In that moment, I looked around at the faces of the men who had become my family. I felt a deep sense of gratitude, a love that went beyond words. We had found something rare and precious on this island, a sense of belonging that was as enduring as the sea and as boundless as the sky. As the island shifted from season to season, life took on a beautiful, steady rhythm. Each day brought a renewed sense of wonder, and every sunrise over the ocean felt like a gift. I found myself deeply woven into the fabric of this life, connected to each man in a way that was entirely unique. Kaylin, always at my side, encouraged these connections, reminding me that love was limitless. One morning, after a swim with Ewan, we shared a quiet moment on the shore. The waves lapped gently at our feet, and he told me about his family back home, about how they had shaped him. His openness touched me, deepening the friendship we had built, and as he spoke, I realized how each man on the island had become a part of me, a cherished friend with his own story. With Rowan, our connection was quieter but equally meaningful. One afternoon, while gathering firewood, we sat under a tree and watched the ocean together. We spoke little, yet there was a mutual understanding, a bond of trust that didn't need words. He shared stories of his past, of his dreams for the future, and I found comfort in his presence, knowing he would always be there for me. Eli became my confidant, someone I could turn to with my fears and hopes. In the evenings, we'd sit by the fire, and he'd share his quiet wisdom, his insights into life that always left me feeling uplifted. His gentle heart had a way of soothing any worries I had, and his friendship became one of my most treasured connections. Over time, my friendships with each man deepened in ways I hadn't anticipated. They were my companions, my confidants, my family. Each brought a different quality to my life, filling it with warmth, laughter, and love. With Kalen, I shared a profound, lasting love, but he had also opened my heart to the joy of loving freely, without limitation. There were nights when we'd all gather around the fire, sharing stories and laughter, and I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. This island had brought us together, had given us the chance to create a life filled with meaning and connection. I knew that I would never take it for granted, that every moment here was a gift. As time passed, we began to work together on more projects, building structures, cultivating gardens, and shaping the island to suit our needs. Every task became a shared effort, a reminder of the life we were creating together. We were not just surviving, we were thriving, building a world that was entirely our own. One day, Kalen and I climbed to the island's highest peak, looking out over the world we had made. The view was breathtaking, the vast ocean stretching endlessly before us, the island lush and green below. Standing there, hand in hand, I felt a sense of completeness, a peace that filled my heart. I never thought I'd find this, I told Kalen, my voice barely above a whisper. This feeling of home, of belonging. He smiled, his hand warm in mine. Neither did I, he replied. But here we are, together. His words echoed in my heart, filling me with a love that was as boundless as the sea around us. With each passing day, our community grew stronger, our bonds deepened. We had become a family, each person adding something unique, something essential. Together, we had created a world that was filled with love, laughter, and the kind of joy that comes from truly belonging. On rainy evenings, we'd gather in the shelter, sharing stories and dreams. Eli would often play a makeshift instrument, filling the space with music that soothed our souls. The other men would join in, singing or clapping along, creating a rhythm that felt like the heartbeat of the island itself. Rowan, who had become a skilled cook, would often surprise us with meals made from the island's bounty. His creations were simple yet delicious, a testament to the life we had built together. As we shared our meals, laughter and warmth filled the air, a reminder of the connection that bound us. Ewan continued to bring light and laughter to our lives, always finding ways to lift our spirits. Whether through a playful prank or a spontaneous dance, he reminded us all of the joy of simply being alive, of sharing our days with people who cared. Kalen and I often found ourselves stealing quiet moments, time just for us amid the busyness of island life. Our love was a constant, a grounding force that gave me strength. In his arms, I felt safe, cherished, a part of something beautiful and lasting. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant hues of pink and gold, Kalen and I walked along the shore. The sand was cool beneath our feet, the waves gently lapping against the shore. In that quiet, peaceful moment, he turned to me, his eyes filled with a love that took my breath away. "You are my heart," he whispered, his voice steady and filled with emotion. His words touched me deeply, a declaration that resonated within my soul. In that moment, I knew that our love was something rare and precious, a gift that I would treasure for the rest of my life. As the stars began to appear in the sky, we lay on the beach, looking up at the vast expanse above us. The world felt infinite, yet also intimately close. With Kalen by my side, I felt a connection to the universe itself, a sense of wonder that filled me with awe. Our days continued in this rhythm, each moment a blend of work and joy, love and laughter. The island had become our sanctuary, a place where we could be ourselves, where we could love freely and fully, without fear or limitation. Every friendship I had made here was a source of joy, each man a part of my heart. Together, we had built a life that was filled with meaning, a life that had shown me the true beauty of connection, of belonging. In the quiet moments, I often reflected on how far I had come, on the journey that had led me here. I had found something beautiful on this island, something I had never known before, a life filled with love, a world filled with peace. The island became even more magical with each passing season. Together, we planted gardens that flourished, built shelters that could withstand any storm, and made this place feel like a true home. I felt a deep pride in what we'd created. Every moment spent here became a precious memory, a testament to the resilience and love we shared. One morning, while watching the sunrise with Kaylin, I thought back to the day I'd arrived on the island. It felt like a lifetime ago. I'd been uncertain, a stranger in a strange place. Now, I couldn't imagine leaving this life. I couldn't imagine a world without these men, without the friendships, without the love that had become the foundation of my days. With Kaylin, my love continued to deepen. There were moments of quiet tenderness, times when a simple glance or touch said everything we felt. He was my partner, my love, the anchor that kept me steady. We would share long walks, often in comfortable silence, feeling content in each other's presence. I also continued to find joy and connection with each of the other men. Each one brought a unique energy and spirit to our life on the island, and they each held a special place in my heart. With Rowan, I could sit and talk for hours, our conversations spanning everything from the mysteries of life to dreams for the future. Eli remained my confidant, someone I could turn to with anything. His wisdom and kindness were a constant comfort, and he always knew how to lift my spirits. He became like a brother to me, someone I trusted with my deepest thoughts and fears. Ewan's laughter continued to fill our days with light. His humor and spontaneity kept us all smiling, a reminder of the joy in life's simplest moments. He'd often pull me into a dance or challenge me to a race along the beach, moments that left us breathless and laughing. Together, the men and I had created a life that felt like paradise. We celebrated each day, finding joy in the routine of island life, in the shared tasks and the moments of relaxation. Every sunset, every shared meal, every quiet moment on the beach was filled with love. As the years passed, I found myself feeling more at home on the island than I ever had anywhere else. The men had become my family, my partners, my friends. Each relationship was a different thread in the tapestry of my life, each one adding its own beauty and depth. Kaylin and I continued to share a love that was as strong as the ocean around us. Our bond grew with each passing day, a source of comfort, passion, and joy. He was the first person I saw each morning, the last person I held each night, and in his arms, I found peace and happiness. Standing on the shore one evening, looking out over the vast, endless sea, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. This island, these men, this life we'd built together, it was more than I'd ever dreamed of. I knew, with absolute certainty, that I was exactly where I was meant to be. This was my home, my love, my life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.